Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at WWB2 and whether it's worth getting involved in the titanic clashes that are currently going on in nullsec. Now this isn't a party political broadcast, I have no bias one way or the other, I'm just going to present the information and let you decide from there. So as it currently stands, PAPI are trying to install a keepstar in FWST-8. Now FWST-8 is a strategically important system due to the fact of its positioning within Delve, that it gives good coverage of a good proportion of Delve from a Sino, which will allow the PAPI fleet to be able to Sino around Delve at will. So that makes the stakes for FWST quite high, and again there have been several clashes over the last month. So on the 5th of October, almost 4,000 pilots took part in trying to either anchor the keepstar or destroy it, and at the end of that conflict nearly 1 trillion ISKs had been destroyed, as well as the keepstar. So at the 5th of October, PAPI hadn't managed to install their keepstar, and the Imperium was successful in preventing it. And since then, PAPI have tried to install 2 additional keepstars, which have both failed, with ever increasing numbers on both sides, and that one peaked out at about 11,000 characters. So here's a capture of some footage from one of the battles, and again it never ceases to amaze me of how stunning this game actually is. So as I say, I've played EVE for a long time and seen many of the large battles that have gone on within New Eden, and I am always struck by seeing multiple Titans on grid, and seeing over 100 Titans in one place is always a moment of wow. So at the start of this video I posed the question of should you join the conflict or not, and I'm going to give it a big resounding yes, and I would encourage anybody that is considering it to get on with it, and I'll give you my reasonings and thoughts on that. At the moment this is history being made within the game. This is the single biggest conflict that has ever been, and may possibly be for a very good amount of time from this point on. Now, the Imperium, Goonswarm, etc. are doing very well in defending thus far, but again, how long that can last and how much resource PAPI can throw at them will depend on obviously the overall outcome. However, slowly but surely, Goons have lost ground, and although they have managed to dig themselves into Delve, I personally think it's only going to be a matter of time until they end up losing one way or another. However, before then, the chances are that these battles are going to just keep escalating. Now obviously there is a maximum limit, server load, etc., but the amount of resources that are being thrown at this war in general is unprecedented in scale. There is nothing prior that really has come even close to it so far, and again it's just going to keep going and going. The two sides that are battling have very, very deep pockets, huge amounts of resources, are the two biggest alliances in the game, and I kind of feel for this specific conflict that it's kind of a matter of pride at this point. I can't see either side capitulating or going away anytime soon. I think this is going to be a bitter fought out conflict, and pretty much till the end one way or another. Now, I could very well be wrong about that last sentence, but again, I will stand by it for the time being. And again, from the conflicts that have happened prior, sides have obviously lost and gone away, or haven't really lost. The coalition last time kind of broke down. It was being funded by a third party, etc. And when CCP kind of stepped in and removed the funds that were coming from the third party, then the alliance, coalition, etc. kind of broke down, and the Imperium walked away with a rather bloody nose. But again, in the end of the day, they did manage to come out of it okay and managed to rebuild. And rebuild they did. Again, they've gone very hardcore industrial, ratting, mining, building, etc. to the point where they are today. And again, that comes back to the should you join or not. And as I've previously stated, that this is the biggest conflict that EVE may have in a very long time to come, just due to the fact that whichever side wins, and again, I have no real bias, but again, I believe PAPI will win, and that means obviously Goonswarm will be defeated, or the Imperium will be defeated. And as an entity, Goonswarm have obviously been around for over a decade now, so have acquired huge amounts of resources in that time. And if they are defeated, it will obviously leave quite a vacuum, and it will leave PAPI, Imperial Horde, Pandemic Legion, Test, etc. as pretty much the 2 or 3 biggest alliances within the game. And again, the desire from conflict from that point isn't ever likely to be as large a scale as it is now. It's going to take a long time for any other alliance, coalition, etc. to build up that kind of resource that the Imperium have over the time scale that they've had to do it. I also unfortunately envisage that if the Imperium do lose, that they will lose a good proportion of their pilots, whether then people leave the game or just join other alliances, etc. And people generally gravitate to the larger alliances, and again that means Pandemic, Horde, etc. will just hoover up more members, etc. Now, that's not to say other alliances can't really come along and obviously rise up, which they have done through the history of EVE, but by that time whoever wins this conflict will be basically the alliance with the overwhelming amount of capitals, and basically will be second to none. As it currently stands, there's talk about whether the Imperium or PAPI have more Titans, but I think the point stands that both sides have a very high number. I'd probably go as far to say that each of them alliances on their own probably have more Titans than all the other alliances combined. So I think there's quite a lot riding on this conflict all in all, and again, as an industrialist and as a player and a member of New Eden, it's all quite exciting and kind of fun, and I have been enjoying watching it, and I am going to now try to get involved in the conflict personally. And that's not because of any, again, political reasons, etc. But again, this is history being made right here. This is, again, the biggest conflict of any MMO ever. And again, as I previously outlined, it could be, well, the biggest conflict in EVE's history ever, and potentially for the future. And I think if you're sitting on the sidelines thinking whether you should or shouldn't, then again, I would encourage you to get in on it. And yes, due to the numbers, obviously the tie-dye is pretty horrific in places, but other than the lag, etc. being horrific, which, let's be fair, it's not always a huge amount of fun, but just to be able to say you were there, even if it's only for the day or a week or a month or however long you want to participate, at least in the future when people join the game, you can say that you were there, you helped one side or the other, whether it was the winning or the losing doesn't matter in the end. It's that taking part in something that is truly epic in scale and grandeur, and again hasn't ever been seen on any other MMO. And from that point, I wouldn't say that, you know, you should join X or you should join Y. Pick the side that you want to join the conflict on and go for it, whether that ends up being the losing side or the winning side. As long as you've had some fun, you've participated and you've left your mark, you can say in the future to new generations of EVE players that you were there and you were part of that epic battle that people will look back on in the future and reminisce about. And I think now's as good a time as any to choose a side. As I said, Gooseswarm are, or appears to be, slightly on the back foot, but as it currently stands, the conflict could swing in either direction, and watch this space. I guess we will find out in the coming weeks or months, but again, I think now is as good a time as any before it's too late or before you've missed some of the epicness that is to come. And with that, I think we'll call it quits there. I would love to hear your feedback in relation to this conflict and whether, so say, you have joined, whether you've left the conflict, or so say whether you are planning to join. And again, the pros, the cons, etc. are always interesting to read. Again, I've been a bit hesitant because, again, heavy tie-dye isn't particularly a great deal of fun, but again, I think I'm having a bit of FOMO, and I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to be involved in, so say, something this epic. So leave your thoughts, etc. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, fly safe.